My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. I love shopping my stash, and I'm so excited whenever it's time to do it again. I feel like I should be filming these videos more frequently. Time is the problem, I just don't have the time. I need to try to figure out a way to reorganize my schedule. I would love to upload more frequently in the coming months. I'll do my best. But in the meantime, please bear with me. I'm gonna stick to my 2 upload days a week, which are Sunday and Wednesday, and I'll do my best to add in some bonus videos. I'll do my best to shop my stash more often. I want to keep this intro short, as always. First, I'm going to talk about the things for which I shopped my stash last time and review those things, and then I'm going to tell you what I shopped my stash for today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing for which I shopped my stash last time was this eyeshadow palette from NARS. It was limited edition, and I believe it's no longer available. It's the NARS Loaded palette. This is what it looks like. I bought this because I'm a sucker for NARS's packaging. I like their eyeshadow formula, and I felt like I didn't have a really good, solid, truly neutral palette. In terms of mattes, it's got some warmer kind of crease and setting shades, and it's got some cooler ones. I really like this taupe color. And it's also got some warmer shimmery colors and bronzes, and then it's got some cooler ones as well, this nice grungy silver in the corner. It's a really beautiful, well-balanced, go-to neutral palette. So I'm glad that I have it in my collection. I feel like it's a good thing to have. I frequently travel with this when I don't know what else to bring, if I don't have a clear idea of the kinds of looks I'm going to want to be making. And taking a look at it, I have gotten pretty good use out of it. It looks like a pretty well-loved eyeshadow palette. However, during this period of Shop My Stash, I felt reluctant to reach for this. I was a little bummed out every time I went to do my eyeshadow, and I was like, oh yeah, I shopped my stash for that NARS palette. I should probably use it. After about the first week I was excited. I was really into using these grungy bronzes, like this color down here, this silver, I absolutely love for a single eyeshadow look. I also really like this bronze. I really like that deep, kind of rich chocolatey bronze. So that's the silver. That's the middle bronze, and then that last one is the rich, deep chocolatey bronze. I mean, those are just gorgeous. They don't have like the super bright shine of silvers and bronzes that aren't grungy, but the grunginess is what I love about them, and they do have a nice gleam to them. To me, those are just perfect eyeshadows for the kinds of looks that I've been into lately. So for those eyeshadows, I was really into this palette, and after I had first shopped my stash for it, I used all 3 of these shadows and a couple of the others actually to do a grungy all over lid look for, I would say, like a solid week and a half, and I was very happy with it. This silvery shadow, this, I mean, what is it? It's like a pewter. That's unique to my collection. I really don't have anything else like that. So if anything, that's a reason to cherish this palette and to be really happy that I have it. When I think about this palette now, that's what I think about. I'm like, oh, that's the home. This palette is the home for this eyeshadow that I really love, and I'm really glad that I have. I feel like I'm just saying all of this to kind of soften the blow, because there are things that I love about this palette, and I do really like the formula, and I do frequently reach for the taupe as a cooler toned or a more neutral crease shade or transition shade. That's kind of something that's a little bit harder for me to find, because I like a more neutral one rather than a warm one. And the warm ones are the ones that are everywhere. I just became restless with this palette in very short order compared to the other times I've shopped my stash for eyeshadow, which I've done every time. So compared to the other palettes for which I've shopped my stash. For example, last time I shopped my stash for my Z palette with all of my singles in it, And I loved using that all the way up until the day that I filmed the next Shop My Stash video. I never wanted to stop using that. I was happy every time I got to reach for it. I was excited every time I got to do my eyeshadow. It had the neutrals that I depend on, but it also had a healthy mix of really beautiful kind of strange duochromes and interesting colors. It was still pretty grungy and relatively neutral. I mean, there were no bright pinks in there, but it had those dusky, grungy versions of colorful shadows that I really like using. And this doesn't have anything like that. This is boring. It's boring the house. Again, there's a place for a boring palette in my collection. There's a place for a very, very well-behaved eyeshadow palette in my collection. And I'm not sorry that I have it. I'm not sorry that I shopped my stash for it either, because I now have an incredibly clear idea of what kind of looks I can get out of it. I also did diversify my use of this palette during this month. I used this, so this shadow I think was untouched before. This is kind of a, wow, that's genuinely the worst swatch of life. That's my fault, not the fault of the eyeshadow. You know, it's like a rusty, grungy color, and I did a look with that and I really, really liked it. And I don't tend towards reds and oranges, but I do like rusty, grungy, and I just hadn't really pegged that shadow as looking this rusty by looking at it in the pan. So I did learn things about this palette that I didn't know before. In short, I am not saying that I'm ready to declutter this palette. There are still a number of eyeshadows in here that I love and that I will reach for again, and I will continue to travel with this. The sturdy packaging makes it really good for traveling as well. I'm not ready to declutter it, but I am definitely ready to shop my stash for something else. I'm really, really ready to put this back into my palette storage and start using my other eyeshadows. The second thing I shopped my stash for last time is this kind of bronzer blush all over face powder from Bare Minerals. It's in the color A Little Sun, and I think it's called the All Over Face Powder. So for me, this is like a blush bronzer situation. And I loved the color when I started using it. When I shopped my stash for it, I was so excited. I really love the finish. I really love the color. And for the first couple of days, I was excited every time I got to reach for this. I even took a picture of myself wearing this and posted on Instagram. It's a picture that really, really shows off the beautiful finish and quality of this product and the color. And I was so into the way that it looked. However, after about 3 or 4 days, after a very short time of having shopped my stash for this, I stopped using it. And it's just because of the format. It's such a pain in the butt to use. It's like, it's a loose powder, so you have to unscrew the thing and then it's everywhere. Like, so already just now I unscrewed it and some of it dropped onto my dress. So you have to be careful with it. And then it's hard to get the right amount of product on the brush. To its credit, or to Bare Minerals' credit, it's not super pigmented. It's not problematically pigmented. I mean, you can imagine that a super, super pigmented loose powder like this would be really hard to work with. They knew what they were doing when they formulated this. It's sheer-ish and shimmery, and it buffs out really well. So even if you kind of get a lot on your brush, you're not going to suddenly look like a clown. You're just going to look like you got a lot of sun rather than a little sun. Here's the thing. It's actually not that difficult to work with. It's like, it's less difficult to work with than I imagined it in my mind. But in my mind, every day when I went to work with it, I was like, I'm not sure I'm up for it today. After the first couple of days, I just stopped being that enthusiastic about opening up this product and putting it on my face. And now I'm swatching it again and I'm remembering how pretty it is, and I feel like I should maybe get back into using it. I should give it another chance. But that's what shopping my stash is. Like, shopping my stash is giving something another chance. Like, I gave it the best chance that I could possibly have given it, because I make an effort to use these things after I shop my stash. I try to use them the whole time as frequently as I can. I kind of try to use them by default, and I only use other things when I'm going for a specific look or when these things don't match up with each other or something like that. So I shot my stash for it. I gave it a really, really good chance, and I stopped using it after 2 or 3 days because I just didn't feel like dealing with it. So right before this video, I opened it up, I swatched it again, and I was like, you know, I don't like using this because of its format, but my impression when I shopped my stash for it was that the color was really special to me, special to my collection, and that I should keep it because of the color and that I should start using it more because of the color. So I started looking around at my other blushes to try to see if I had anything that is like this at all that could kind of dupe this. And I found so many things. I'll see if I can find them again and show them to you. So this is a NARS palette that I really love. And the first one I checked was this one up here in the middle. You might remember this from a previous Shop My Stash. So that's got a similar finish. There it is, and there's a little sun. It's a similar finish, but it's a little more peachy. But then this kind of bronzy bronze that's next to that has a really, really similar finish to the Bare Minerals powder, and is just ever so slightly less peachy. So my feeling is that these two blushes mixed together basically would make the exact same color of the Bare Minerals product. And this is an item that I love to pick up, that I love to use, that I'm really excited to reach for, that gives me all of the feelings, as opposed to this, after 2 days, I was like, girl, no. So those were the first two I found. And then I remembered this, my Wet n Wild Mega Glow Illuminating Powder, which I recently shopped my stash for. And I thought I remembered that the color that this makes was maybe kind of similar. So I swatched it, rubbing all the colors together, and it made, again, like kind of a peachier color. So that's the slightly peachier version. It looks a lot like the NARS one. But then I swatched just this darker bronzy one in the corner, the one that's kind of falling apart. And that is very, very close. Like in finish and in color, that is a very, very close match for the Bare Minerals one. And then after that, I remembered my kind of go-to depotted Wet n Wild blush, which is this beautiful one. I think this is Apricot in the middle. Look at this. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's Apricot in the middle right there. And there's the Bare Minerals right there. That's the closest dupe, but all of them are so similar, and it's a mix of drugstore and high-end, and all of them are things that I honestly enjoy more and that I like using more than I like using this. So this might be on the chopping block. This would be a beautiful gift for someone, and it's a loose powder, so I think it's something that you can like really easily pass on. It's still so nice, and it's still in really good shape. I'll decide when I get to the blush portion of my official declutter series, but it was kind of a revelation to realize how many powders I have that give a very similar effect to this, and to realize that I don't actually enjoy using loose powder blushes like this. The next thing for which I shopped my stash is this ColourPop Super Shock highlighter in the color Spoon. And if you watched my favorites video, you have already seen me talking at length about this product because it was a favorite this month, or last month. Over the past month, it was a favorite. I absolutely loved using this. And if you saw that video, you saw me talking about what a revelation it was to start using this product with a highlighting brush instead of with my fingers. I started using it with a brush right after I shopped my stash for it, and that was the first time I had ever used it with a brush, and I was flabbergasted at how well it performed. So I have been using it and using it and using it. I have hit major pan on this product. I didn't have pan on this product at the beginning of my Shop My Stash, and look how much pan is in there now. So that's a testament not only to how frequently I used this over the past month, but also to how shallow these pans are and how much product picks up on a brush when you use it on a brush. Because I was just swirling it, but it picked up a lot of product, and you can see how intense of a glow it gives. It's really lovely. This used to be my third most reached for ColourPop Super Shock shadow. I have three. I have Lunch Money, which is kind of a pale, slightly muted champagne gold. I have Flexitarian, which is a really, really brilliant silver highlight. And then I have Spoon, which is more of a almost rosy beige, almost like a clear pigmented or unpigmented micro glitter highlight. Previous to this month, I had reached for the other two much more frequently than I reached for this one, and now this one is my favorite. The thing that really impresses me is it has that slightly glittery finish, that kind of exciting glittery finish, but the glitters are so fine that they don't enhance texture, especially when it's buffed on with a brush. And of the three, this is the one that shows up with the least pigment on my skin. It kind of like goes on clear on me, clear with glitter, whereas Flexitarian goes on really silver and Lunch Money goes on really, really gold. It's a very pale gold, but it still shows as a gold against my skin. So I am really into this, and I'm going to maybe slow down a little bit so that I don't use it all up so fast. I don't particularly want it to be gone because I really love using it. I've learned that I really love using it. I just am excited to know what I've got in my arsenal. I didn't really know what I had in this product before, and now I do. The last thing for which I shopped my stash in my previous video was this Perricone MD No Lip Gloss. It has been entirely panned at this point. It was in my empties, my August empties, and I'm just keeping it around for the purposes of showing it in this video, and after this it will go into the recycling. I talked about this a lot in my empties video, and I will link that. I'm going to be brief about it now because a lot of you have already seen me talking about it. In short, it is one of the best lip products I've ever had. It's the perfect natural gloss. It's very nourishing for the lips. It's really good for your lips. It looks beautiful. It's perfectly balanced in every way. Not too warm, not too cool, not too sticky, not too invisible. It's just like a really, and it's tenacious. It's got a beautiful glossy sheen to it, but without being like obnoxiously glossy. It's just perfect. And as I said in that other video, even if I were buying things right now, I would have no desire to purchase this again in spite of how perfect it is. I can't imagine something better, but I don't think I'm gonna miss it because I have so many other awesome glossy lip products. And I think it's important to talk about that. It's important to talk about breaking the habit of immediately replacing something when it's gone, even if you really, really liked it. So as I said in my empties, I could see myself purchasing this in the far future if I have panned a bunch of stuff and I really need something like this. This would be a good candidate. If you don't have very many glossy lip products, or you don't have anything that's like a nourishing gloss, like a combination between a lip balm and a lip gloss, if you don't have anything like that, I highly recommend this one. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but it's also a lip treatment, so it was worth it to me. I'm really glad I bought it. I enjoyed using it, and I'm not going to buy it again anytime soon. Okay, let's talk about my incoming products. The first thing I shopped my stash for today is this eyeshadow palette, the Marc Jacobs Style Eye-Con. This is long discontinued. It was limited edition. It's no longer available. It was the holiday palette for 2016. Here's what it looks like, and I'm excited to get to spend some more time with this palette. One of the things I really love about this is its balance of cool toned and warm toned shadows. One of you recently asked me in the comments which is my best cool tone palette, like which eyeshadow palette do I own that's my go-to for cool tones, and this is it. This is the answer. It's got amazing grays, amazing shades of gray. So it has this kind of pale dove gray. It has this unbelievably beautiful charcoal gray. Charcoal grays like that are so rare. They're becoming less rare, but they have been so rare in palettes over the past couple of years. And then it's got these kind of purples. So there's sort of a grayish rich purple. There's this grayish bluish. I'll swatch all of these gorgeous cool toned. Isn't it sort of remarkable that Marc Jacobs was putting out these colors in the winter of 2016, when I feel like the warm toned craze was at its absolute height? This was in their holiday palette, this like gorgeous cool tone, like bluey, purpley, grayy situation. I really, really love those colors. But let me swatch the warm ones too, because they're also extraordinary. So this, of course, this is the color that caused me to purchase this palette, that like really brilliant, almost chartreuse gold. There's this really pretty, this is like a color I don't usually gravitate towards, but when I do need it, this particular shade is really perfect. There's, oh yeah, there's like this warmy, bronzy, peachy thing. There's also just like brown with glitter. So we've got the gold, that really pretty kind of, that's actually swatching darker than it applies, but it's like a really pretty rusty transition shade, this sort of rusty bronze, and then this dark brown with shimmers. That's actually not that warm of a brown, but you get my gist, right? It's like the perfect warm and cool palette. And I love the formula. This is one of my most loved palettes, but because I've been shopping my stash all year and I haven't shopped my stash for this, I feel like I've lost touch with it a little bit. So I'm looking forward to dipping back into this shadow with the knowledge of eyeshadow that I've acquired over the course of this year, because I feel like I'm always learning, and there are probably things I can do with this palette now that I wasn't able to do with it the last time that I was using it frequently, which was kind of towards the end of last year. So that was the first thing. And I also decided to shop my stash for these Glossier blushes, the Glossier Cloud Paints. And it's for the simple reason that I realized that I don't know these products well enough to review them. I know that I really love the application. I know that I really love these two colors. I have Dusk and Beam. I wore them a lot when I first got them, and I really, really liked how they looked. So I know that I like them, but I don't know how long they last. I just haven't really paid attention to whether they're long lasting or not. And that's something that I really care about in a blush product. So I don't really have a sense of how long they last. I haven't worn them in a long time. I also don't really have a sense of like applying them with my fingers versus a brush. I feel like I know more about makeup now than I knew when I first got these. And I feel like I might be able to actually put them through the ringer and test them out thoroughly and give you guys a really thorough review. And also, for my own purposes, I want to know if I should declutter these when I do my blush declutter. So I'm going to spend some time with them over the next couple of weeks and see how they do. I shopped my stash for this deluxe sample size of the Urban Decay Naked Highlighting Fluid in the color Sin. I know that I really like this product, but it's a pain in the butt to apply because the doe foot applicator barely fits into the mouth of the sample-sized product. And I want to pan this. It's so pretty. I really, really love it, but I'm reluctant to reach for it because of that packaging issue. But I like it so much that I don't want to declutter it. So I realized that I'm kind of at an impasse with this. I need to force myself to use it. So that's basically why I'm shopping my stash for it. I also am a little bit curious as to whether it's good enough that I might one day in the far future invest in the full size of this. It's kind of a battle between this and the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector Fluid in Moonlight, which I also have a deluxe sample size of. And I use this one a lot more frequently because it's easier to apply because of the issue with the packaging. So I know this one very, very well. And I know I like this one a lot, but I don't know it as well as I know this one. So just for research purposes, I'm kind of curious to find out which one is the winner. And to do that, I feel like I need to shop my stash for this and use it multiple days in a row. And lastly, I shopped my stash for another deluxe sample size. This is the Tom Ford lipstick in the color Indian Rose. I haven't swatched anything, have I? I guess I swatched those eyeshadows. I'll swatch this for you. It's pink. It's a little bit of a warm pink. It's really pretty. I tend not to reach for it because it's such a dinky little thing, but I want to use this up because it's such a pretty color. It's a kind of color that I don't usually buy. Like, I got this as a sample and I really like how it looks on me. It's not what I have on right now, but the couple of times I've put it on, I've really enjoyed wearing it. It's a beautiful neutral for me. It's not quite a My Lips But Better. Like, it looks like a lipstick, but it's not so pink that it looks off on me, because most pinky lipsticks do. It's just got that sophisticated undertone, that perfect balance of tones that I feel like I frequently see in Tom Ford shades. And it's just a shame that it's been languishing in my collection. I don't want it to go bad. So I'm shopping my stash for it. I'm gonna use it and use it and use it, and hopefully actually make some progress on it. This round of Shop My Stash is kind of like a half Shop My Stash, half project pan. And I'm starting to think that my Shop My Stash projects are going to evolve in that direction a little bit, because I'm thinking about my upcoming declutter series, and I'm realizing that some things will stay in my collection because I absolutely love them and I actually don't want them to get used up. I just love them. And some things are going to stay in my collection because I would rather pan them than pass them on. And so that makes me start thinking about intentionally focusing on using up certain things like this, like little dinky things floating around that I don't exactly cherish because they're just deluxe sample sizes. Like, I don't cherish them. I don't hold them and feel like they spark joy in the same way as the full-size products that I picked out and paid for. But I'm not going to declutter them because I really like them. What I want is to use them up. So I'm going to start incorporating some products like this into my Shop My Stash series. I'll be able to review them for you, and I will also be able to make some headway on them. Okay, I swatched the other 3 products so that you can see them. There is Indian Rose, the Tom Ford lipstick. Next to that is Dusk, the Glossier Cloud Paint. Next to that is Beam, the Glossier Cloud Paint. And then there on the end, that highlighter is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Highlighting Fluid in the color Sin. So those are the other things that I'm going to be using. And that is it. Those are the things for which I shopped my stash this go round. I will be using them assiduously in the coming weeks, and then I will come back with reviews and to shop my stash again. Shopping my stash has been one of the greatest joys of my no-buy year. I will definitely continue to do it even after my no-buy ends. And whether you are on a no-buy or a low-buy or not, I highly recommend this kind of project. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.